morning, everybody, participants at various centers. It's my profound privilege to introduce Dr. P. Khareja. He is Dean Faculty of Engineering and Technology at GNH University, Phagwara. Prior to this, he was Director Principal in RAP Institute of Engineering and Information Technology. Uh, in He superannuated from Tech University of Technology, Chandigarh, where he headed metallurgy engineering department and started many interdisciplinary courses with many firsts in their kind. So I request him to interact with you on very important topic, that is the action research. As we were discussing earlier, the teacher in day-to-day time also can undertake research and come out with small findings, which the results of which he can really use in his practical situations. Thank you. With that, I will start.
Good morning to all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm going to talk on a very important topic, that is action research, and I'm going to integrate it for the teacher. We have two kinds of teachers. One which is internationally acclaimed, one which is the teachers who are teaching, and another one researchers. So the two kind of teachers, those who are good at research, they get involved in actual research, experimental research or conceptual research, and those who are getting research grants and so on. So there's a comment in that situation, and I am going to address those kind of teachers who try to be very good teachers, but at the same time they must get opportunity to research, and the opportunity lies in the action research. The teachers who indulge in research, they get grants, they get APA scores, but the other teachers who teach well, they are probably not considered well in most of the actual situations, and their hard work is normally wasted and not acknowledged. So we need to look at those teachers who are teaching, and they should be able to find due opportunities to publish their research or maybe conduct their research, and for that the action research topic derives some significance for those kind of teachers. The teachers need to keep a tab on the students' learning because that is in order to display and demonstrate that the students are performing, their documentation, etc., is necessary to be carried out. And at the same time, we need to look at the various opportunities or impediments into their learning, and target our learning models onto the students for their better performance. We need to look into the learning models, and we need to improve upon their performance even on the taxonomical scale. Most of the students, we find they are cramming things and the understanding is poor, and we need to improve upon that. So I'm going to divide my lecture into, firstly, I would want to define the action research and then apply it for the teachers and look at the roadmap of achievement. I would talk about the statistics part briefly and demonstrate how it is going to affect, how it is going to help the students and the teacher and the class as such, and we need to manage the system difficulties. Then we'll need to look at what is happening onto the demonstration of that, and in fact control using the software and computer. And then I would take some case study and demonstrate the evaluation process, which is in fact going to help us in improving the quality of the students and in improving the performance of the students. And we also need to look at that how this action research can help us to improve our performance. Defining action research. Defining action research. The action research is a process of experimentation by the individual in collaboration with the student, so that one can perform, one can improve the objectives, one can achieve the objectives by slowly improving upon the actions, the performance, the inputs, etc. So we can define by it's a process, it's a state of being active, an act that will consciously will, and that may be characterized by mental or physical activity. By diligence and by systematic inquiry or investigation into a subject in order to discover or revise facts, theories, and applications. So we need to action, and we need to look into two aspects, two parts of this in order to define. So we need to define the action and we need to define the research. Research is systematic inquiry into the discovering of facts, theories, and applications. And action would mean being active, leading to activity, leading to mental or physical activity. And these two aspects, they can be joined together to define action research. The studies carried out in the course of an activity or occupation, typically in the field of education, we apply there presently, and we definitely can improve into, can involve into experimental research also. And in the field of education, we can improve the methods and approach to those involved. The involved as the students, the stakeholders can be considered, and peers, etc. can also be considered. The whole class can be considered, individual students can be considered. So we can apply the action research to improve the performance of the students, and thus we can use and build data in the class, from the class, about the students, about their performance, about their response to various stimuli which we give, and so we can bring excellence in the performance of the students, and of course in the process of assessment also. The teachers need to identify the levels of success and apply, and also identify the impediments to learning. This slide is repeated. So we need to implement these options in various ways, and by applying the student models and by looking at the taxonomical scale. So the action research has been defined by Guiding School Improvement with Action Research by Richard Sager as belonging to ASCD, as action research is a disciplined process of inquiry conducted by and for those taking action. As we had classified earlier, action and research. So this part is those who are taking action about their process, their conduct by and for. The primary reason for the engagement in action research is to assist the actor. Actor is the student and the teacher. This is a very critical scenario in which the object is the student, but the student is also the operator, and the teacher is again an operator, because he works on the student. He is also a facilitator, he is also a motivator, he is also a resource, because he has the necessary information. The student can be operator, can be the subject of the act by the teacher. So the academic scenario is difficult to understand, and we must clarify these things in our mind before we proceed on to getting into action research in the case of students. I'm going to demonstrate this through a schematic diagram in a little while. We will assist the actor in improving and refining his or her actions. As I told you earlier, this has to be participative. That is, the teacher and the student, they have to act together, because the student is both an operator and as well as the subject of the teacher, on whom the teacher acts upon. So the teacher teaches and the student learns, and the primary objective is that the student must learn. It's not the purpose, the advantages not in the teaching is it doesn't fulfill, it doesn't finalize with the teaching, but it actually consummates with the students' learning. Thus, the teacher must reflect upon the students' performance, and thus indulgence in the reflective thinking will help the student improve the learning and the teacher in his or her instructions. The action research, so it provides a framework that guides the energies of the teacher towards a better understanding of why, when, and how the students become better learners. It is used by the practitioner researcher in reflection, in decision making, and the development of more effective classroom strategies. This is how the strategies will work at the student. The teacher must observe, reflect upon the ways in which the student reacts to the responses or stimuli, and then plan the action with respect to the understanding, and finally take an action and try to improve. So this acts as a vicious process. It acts as a virtuous process in which the teacher would be improving by observation, reflection, plan, and action. And by this way, the teacher would achieve the objectives, necessary objectives of instruction and of the student learning. I would show you by the system process, system understanding as to the student as the raw material is subjected to learning. The learning would be effective in learning environment, that is with peers, laboratories, workshop, etc. in the classroom, facilitated by teacher who is a motivator, who is a mentor, and then uses the resources, books, etc. to finally act as a student, as operator, who takes charge of his learning, his or her learning, and finally the learning is demonstrated in terms of the performance, employability, marks, or whatever. So the student is a consumer of the phenomena, and the student as an operator does the actually jugali. One has to sit down and then reflect upon the learning and assimilate and convert the acquired knowledge, acquired information into the knowledge, into the personal knowledge, and then in the whole process, the observation, reflection, plan, and action that goes concurrently all the time to improve the student performance and the learning, and thus consummate, thus achieve the objectives. So the action is implicit in this. Student is taking action. The action is in the environment somewhere. The action by the teacher. Resources, again, action is taken on the resources, reading and selecting and all. And the best part, that is a jugali, digestion, and the knowledge is digested by the consumer so as to give the qualities of employability or lifelong learning, or maybe becoming a quality citizen. So this is how the process goes. The process has to be worked upon by both the teacher and the student together, and for the substantial outcomes. I would introduce you to the bit of statistics which can be employed by the teacher. Of course, the student can also be helped and can join in to understand the processes. This is a normal bell-shaped curve, and in the first 1 sigma limit inside, which is reddish, will give 68% of the total contribution. The next two lines, 2 sigma is at 95%. So 2.5 on one side, that makes 5%. This is beyond into the 3 sigma level, and 3 sigma is up to 99.97% and 99.7%. 0.3% will be in the 3 sigma level, and beyond that there'll be outliers. The history has it that we have people forming in all categories, Suppose if we want to give the grading in the institutions where let's say grades are given, then we would assign the green part for A grade, and the next part for B grade, and the third part for C grade. So we could, on one side of it, we could categorize like this, or we could break down the total scope of the class into 4 grades, which would be, we normally take about 10% in the A category, and 30% be in the B category, 30% in the C category, and again 10 to 20% in the D category. So 10 to 15, 10 to 20%. So it makes about say 34 plus 34 here in this diagram, 68% plus 32% divided between say 10% and 22%. I have confused here. Again, I would say that this red part we could divide into B and C, and the rest of the parts could be defined into A grading and D grading. Depending upon, we can take about 10% to 15% as the A, and again 10 to 15 as the D part. This is how the grading is done. There are 2 types of gradings which are used in the institutions: absolute grading and the relative grading. What I define here is the relative grading. In the absolute grading, of course, we fix up the marks. Like 60% would have B or B plus, 60% would have C, 80% would have B, and A would have 80 to 100%, and so on. So these are the criteria which are considered in the institutions. And so we need to understand the bell-shaped curve here. It is the relative positioning of the data or of the performance of the student. In bell-shaped curve, this has to be this distribution is a normal distribution where most of the people would lie between, on the average, that is the middle part, and the exceptionally high, as we go to the exceptionally high or exceptionally low category, the number would have reduced. We can consider this by taking by noting down the ages and drawing a histogram between the ages of the students in a specific class, or maybe the heights of the specific student, all the students in a specific class, and we would get a shape of the curve which will conform to this. If you plot a histogram, it will be the same curve, the same shape. If you join the top of the histograms, middle parts, and this will essentially give you a bell-shaped curve. This means that the data is stable and the population is normally distributed in a stable condition. When the data is centered, stable and valid, reliable. So the informations are: normal distribution means process is right. We can grade with this help of bell-shaped curve. We can compare 2 populations or samples, and we can identify the population, out of population students who are extra bright and extra slow learners. We do have considered a lot of extra bright students, and sometimes they're considered as slow learners. They've been driven out of the class. The examples are many: Bill Gates, Einstein, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford. These kind of people, they have been considered as slow learners in the school, but they actually perform better. So making a statistical analysis is very essential, that it should be able to identify the actual performance of the students on various types of scales, so that they can be identified if the process could go wrong somewhere. I have just marked the outliers by this stars on the right and the left side, and they are the people who are beyond the 3 sigma level, plus minus 3 sigma level. I can show you an exhibit. Maybe I can. Okay.
दोस्तों आज मैं तुम लोगों को एक कहानी सुनाऊं। एक लड़का था, मत पूछोगे, वो कर एक नहीं पाता।
So we just saw the very touching sequence from the movie Tare Zameen Par, and we know the performance of the student, how it was turned over by the teacher by taking due interest in the student. The student who could not learn anything, who to him all the letters seemed to be flying off or crawling like insects, in fact turned out to be high in performance both in the drawing and the subjects. That shows that a bit of consideration can really turn the tide for the students, and of course it brings a lot of satisfaction and acclaim to the teacher. And we have several examples. The story goes that Thomas Edison, his mother had a letter when he was thrown out of the school, and she hid the letter or the contents from him, which he knew after the death of the mother. The story may not be correct, but it is very valid that this child was educated by the mother essentially. Thomas Edison was very fond of learning on his own, and he learned from the books, and he accomplished a great feat. He was a great innovator, and he gave a lot of paradigms up to the invention of the things. So these outliers, they do have the learning difficulties, and they are misfits in the school. Probably they are the misfits or the teachers are misfit. One can argue on this, but their performance shows that the teachers were wrong. Teachers did not realize their positive points, and this is one challenge which the teachers, we academy, have in day-to-day life. And these kind of students who may be ignored, may be super intelligent, and they need to be coached, or their difficulties need to be re-identified and worked upon. So the other ways, we have three kind of students maybe. In this bell-shaped curve with a distribution, we have the green one, which is the lowest, middle placed the blue, and the right one, red one. So this shows that the standard deviation and the spread, the sigma value is lowest in the case of red one, and the performance is certainly going to be high. But we have a situation of the other kind. We have normally, our classes are like the blue curve, because we have a lot of reservations, a lot of challenges in our classes, a lot of distributions are there, lot of different disparate distributions are there. We have this kind of distributions so in a place like ours, where we have a lot of population which is from villages, or who are more of them are scheduled caste peoples who have not got admission in better situations like PSC. So these kind of students are too many, and we have a very big spread in the class, and so the challenge is also very high. The challenge would be the least when the bell-shaped curve is narrow, the spread is less, and the challenges are higher when the spread is more. I tend to remove one and show you the performance of the class, repeating a part of the green part. So I show that we have a class which is trimodal. Some people are extra intelligent, some are normal, and some are below level. And in our total class, it makes a kind of a bell-shaped curve. But the class has to be identified with respect to three groups who could be broken down, who could be disparate, and we need to classify the groups with respect to for their learning, maybe sometimes homogeneous and sometimes heterogeneous. When we're instructing, we need to go for heterogeneity. When we're giving assignments, teamwork, we go for homogeneity, and this is how we can build a class who can be helped by the peers for better learning and for better demonstration of skills, better achievement of skills and demonstration of skills. Achievement of skills is very important, and demonstration is equally important because they have to appear in the interviews. And we already are bashed up for our low employability in India, which is hardly 22% or so. So we need to we need to bring up the unprivileged people and mix with them, with the privileged ones, so that we can have a better response in their learning and improvement of the levels, academic levels. We need the support of the parents. The policies of the government are also making the situations difficult. Then again, we have quotas and districts. We have this district problem even in government schools in our local areas where people are selected by lottery, and we have the family conditions to support them. So we cannot have the same teaching model, and we cannot have the same assessing model for all of them, and we need to classify people according to their attributes, according to their skills, according to their inclination. Some people would be innovative, some people would be hardworking, some people would be good at mathematics, some people would be good at graphics, and so on. So we need to have different parameters for selection of different people, and adequately coach them or adequately support their skills so that they can perform. They can at least excel in one of the areas in which they are talented and they are oriented. And this is how we can bring up, and the other areas where they're weak, that could be picked up. We need to motivate them, like we saw in Tare Zameen Par. The fellow was motivated after his excellence was demonstrated in the field of painting. And so the child got motivated, and the child was coached in other areas where the child was weak. So this is how we continue. We need to work on the various models of teaching and learning, and that remains out of my scope here. We have to look into the models which are best suited for the people, the environments which help them, and we can go on constructivism. We can go on their relating with their real life experiences of the students and of the teacher, and of the environment which need to be improved. The instructional experiences can be constructed, they can be sequenced and delivered. And this is how by using the models of teaching and of course learning, they would be coached by and by to improve their performance. We can go for several assessment techniques, formative and summative. Some people are good at maybe presentations, some people are good at orally, some people write well, some people are good at subjective, some are good at multi-choice. Some students can make good portfolios, and also the projects which the students can undertake. So the students need to show their capabilities, and it is said that the future jobs would be 40% of jobs would be such which will be newly created. So there are ample opportunities, and the students be course in the area they excel, or in the area they demonstrate interest and achievements. So in looking at the taxonomy, we have three techniques of data collection. We need to collect this data from the students, and we can observe and inquire, ask, and then examine. And we can look in for the kind of response of the students by all the techniques, three techniques of experiencing, inquiring, and examining. We can actively participate with them, and we can be a passive observer. We can have interviews, structured, informal, formal. We can have questionnaires, we can have attitude scales, standardized tests. We can also look at their records, journals, projects, artifacts, field notes, etc. We can also give them real-life cases, real-life studies. For example, we gave students to find out the accidents on one of the national highways and the impediments which cause them, possible actions. So by giving such exercises, the students know, the students reflect on their difficulties, on their situations, and then they are able to achieve the kind of knowledge. I'm going to talk about a bit of statistics and how it is used in the class. The advantage would be that we can professionalize our teaching, and we can improve the performance of the students, because it is becoming very increasingly difficult in these circumstances when the students have lower academic performance in the initial school years today. And again, the reforms are coming, the things are becoming difficult. The people are very vocal about the employability, low employability scenario, performance of the education institutions, the accreditation, and this competition because of the lack of the number of students, especially into engineering. So we need to enhance the motivation and efficacy of the faculty who are already very challenged, whose salaries are dropping, and it is becoming tenure like a thing. The job is not secure in the same situation as that of America and other developed countries. I'm going to give you illustrative some case studies. This performance is from a class of 28 BTech Civil Engineering in a course Critical Thinking, which incidentally I taught. And we look at the performance of the students from the grading. And the lowest marks, they were not less than, they were above 50%. That was, there was one student. 14 students had B grade between 60 to 70%. 8 students had B plus between 70 to 80%. 2 students had 80 to 90%, and 3 students had 90 to 100%. This critical thinking course is it is a new course which is normally not offered in most of the institutions. And in this course, the students were expected to explore. Out of the box thinking is to be developed. They need to learn the tools by which they can extrapolate, and they need to reflect upon the things which are already known or learned by them critically, and find out the critical parameters. And thus it was, I taught it for the first time, and I was the first teacher who engaged a combined class of various groups. And so we will have an opportunity to see that how do the students relatively perform. Draw the bell-shaped curve, look into the bell-shaped curve. The board, the highest hit at 14, the high is at 14, that is B, and it is actually it is close to normal, but actually it is a bimodal because A plus is 3 and the other high is at B, that is 14. So population slightly bimodal, skew to the higher side, that is on the left upper side, higher side of the marks. That shows that there were some students who were trying to break out. There were some students who were trying to do well, and it's obvious. It is evident also from the A plus. So there is a disparity between the main class at B plus and B and at A. Disparity means some students are really doing very well, and they actually deserved it. So we have the second case of computer science. We know that computer science, merit-wise, is very popular. Most of the students are opting for it. So are the responses. The class size was 14, and population 14, peak at A. 8 students, skew to the lower side. That is, we have number 5 here, 5 students here in the B plus. And their actual performance is much better because the peak at A and versus the peak at B, that makes the difference. And of course, the students and in the prerequisites of the students, when they join, they are brighter here with respect to the marks. So it corresponds to that. We look at the automobile engineering, but then this is diploma. This is a different class of environmental science. And we see a performance like this. The diploma students have a lot of problems. And some students are at A category, 80 to 90%. No one at B plus. And the highest is at C plus. Again, skewing is on the right side, which could go further, and 5 students are failing. 5 students are failing, and so we, of course, this class, well, there's a potential for increase in all these situations, but this demands expedient action because the 5 failures are there, and overall the performance of the class at C plus, 50 to 60% is below normal in our criteria, and so this is a case for consideration for investigation. If we talk about all the subjects, I had collated all the subjects in one graph, one table here. So we have these tables are evident. The size, I think, is readable. So we have on the these are the grades on the so these are the grades. These are the grades, and these are the subjects. Let's say call them A, B, and C and D. So these are the subjects, and there's another subject called technical writing. And in this subject, of course, in all these subjects, we have divided the same class sizes with respect to the grades, and they're collated here in the lower table, in which the grading has been there in lesser number of categories. For example, A and A plus have been merged, and so on. And so lesser number of categories are there, and I would show you how these can be collated. This is the graphical information coming out of this. So this means that teacher A here the red line teacher A and the violet line, these two lines which are dotted, but they are bounded lines, big hash and a dot. So these two have maxima at A. I'm not able to show you by pointer. Okay, so this one and this one. These two lines, they are having a maxima at B grading. And these ones, dotted ones, this one and this one, they have the maxima at C point. So essentially, these marks in the case of teacher B and teacher D, that is yellow one, and the two teachers at the right side, that is the teacher E and the teacher C, their maxima is at C. So the performance of the first with respect to the second can be weighed out, that who does better, which teacher does better, whose marks are better. And at the same time, we look at that this teacher C has taken better care of the students who are at A part, and vis-a-vis the performance here, since these are numbers, the performance here would be low in the case of these students who are having maximum D. So we can have this, we can compare the information with respect to the teachers, and we can also look at it, how is the kind of bell-shaped curve demonstrated with respect to the students. For example, in this case, the blue line, teacher A, shows this one, and there's hardly, so there is a, so it is also a blue bell-shaped curve, because most of the performance would be between B and C, and since this is slightly flattening off, so one cannot really say that this is not a normal situation, though it could be considered as it is not bimodal also, but the mode is high here, the mode is different here, and so this kind of information we draw here. And as I spoke to you about the performance, where we look at the behavior, I think I'll have to go back. So we look at the behavior that it is normal, as we discussed earlier, and that we are looking at normality of the behavior, and we are looking at the kind of dependability of the assessment of the teacher. But when it becomes bimodal, either the class is something is not acceptable there. Either the class may be such that which is disparate. The students have not been coming to class, so there it needs investigation, and so it needs the kind of action research over the class, and so that shows a case live for action research for addressal and correctional, and not only for improvement but also for correctional. I try to apply this situation ANOVA to the same result, and it corresponded there that the teachers are virtually showing the same performance. In terms of teacher, the class cannot be discriminated. All of them are showing the same kind of results. The results are definitely going to be different because of the interest of the subjects, difficulty of the subject, difficulty of the question paper, and so many criteria would be there which would bring the disparation, but it is not significant. So teachers cannot be discriminated because the p-value is more than 0.05. It's close to 1. But on the other hand, students can be discriminated because we definitely have a very disparate class or reserve category, cared by parents. Some people are very nasty. Some are not attending classes. They come to the college, they come to the university, and while away, be in the canteen and all. So these sort of conditions can also be, when we have two sample of two, we can go into t-tests, and if we have more, then we need to necessarily see the discrimination using ANOVA. So we can have a dashboard which can help us identify the situations. So here by looking at them, we can definitely find that things are very normal, though there are some skews here. But every category has a maxima, and then some shoulders, some outliers within the. Say we take 2 sigma, then we can call them outliers, and 3 sigma. So they are there, and they have, of course, they can be. We can find out the Anderson. We can find out the normality, and we can find out the normality, and the normality should be more than 0.7. And I did not try it, but it is likely going to be more than 0.7 in these cases also, and this can also be demonstrated from ANOVA. That is, the results are dependable. And we try to classify the students into 4 categories. The ones are star performance, those who are A+ type. They're good. They are otherwise their pickup is good. Their class, they take interest in the class. They're regular. There are some students who are sluggish, who need a bit pull push, and some students are motivated out of them, and they are performing better. Those students who are not motivated, some students who are careless, they need to be. Those students who are avoiders, they are necessarily the ones who join with the nasty ones. They need to be promoted and challenged. And once we challenge them, they can perform better. And there's some students who are definitely the difficult type. They have either to be pushed to enable them get out of the institute, or maybe they have got to be taken to task and cared for regularly. So one needs to virtually work at the students in different ways, and this is how we write their names in that divide the class into these kind of categories and try to work upon the categories, and especially the performers who are to be challenged. They are taken care to very closely, and those students who are otherwise motivated, they have difficulties, need to give them extra time to improve, to understand the concepts which they may be lacking. They may not be able to catch another class. Some of the in the world these dashboards are being used. What I try to show is the kind of performance which this could automatically come. In fact, for all the teachers, teacher A, B, C, D, and individually for the students also. And this could automatically come. There are tools available. Dashboard tools are there. Macros are there. I do not know, but my son, he does it, and need to learn, but could not find time or maybe the opportunity, because the children are very busy, and you have to use macros, and they would continue to plot, and they would be live. They call dashboards, because as the dashboard of the car, they will give you the correct information and spontaneous information. If something changes, the things would come. Some of these colleges, some of the institutions, they have their own softwares which integrate those kind of information, but statically, not dynamically. There's a need for dynamic translation of the information from the actual performance to onto the dashboard. So we can have a different type of performance. This school dashboard is virtually a comparison of the various schools. It is from keywords suggest internet, and they can find out the gender ratio student and teacher gender analysis, teacher ethnic analysis, student per grade. So they can have the information with respect to any school and just select the school and the information would come. And the same can be again higher on a higher scale. That could be reflected with respect to any questions which you may have, any information which you may require. And from the Sunshine Art and Music class, a school dashboard, the school dashboard is used to give all that kind of information, course registrations, achievements, course registration by membership, all those kind of plots can be made. And say in admissions, we can have this information coming not even routinely, but in a dynamic and online fashion. That is, we'll give you the information, and those things with the kind of a dashboard can become very handy in analyzing and in depicting the various kind of scenarios, which we need to monitor at most of the times, and we can get right kind of information for use, for improvement, for analysis, or even for corrective actions, etc. So we need to see that how can these things, the dashboard, etc., can be used to improve upon the teaching and learning process in a school or in an institution. As I told you that it's a participative process, and it's very vital today for the academy to not only understand how and where the students are lacking, but also to find the necessary stimulus and how to judge whether the stimulus is working or not, and even take a feedback onto whether the stimulus can be further literally or hierarchically improved and applied to various other students in the class or not. So these things are very difficult, and of course needs action research again, and so it's a very live topic, live phenomena, and one needs to get involved very, very actively, so that we help both our learning, both our ways in which we monitor and educate the students, and also lead them to excellence. When we look at our students, the probable causes would be their background, poor English background. That is especially for diploma students, also for degree students. They do not understand they cannot write the spellings of course. They cannot write the spellings of engineering correctly. So the students are very weak in the language. We are chasing a pattern where English is difficult. English is different from the mother tongue, and people sometimes they study in a local medium of instruction. When it changes to English, then it becomes very difficult for them to comprehend and even adjust. They have lack of exposure to science concepts, lack of exposure to English, lack of exposure to information of various kinds. They are not the kind of reading type. They do read, but they read only WhatsApp and nonsense. They do not read the books. The book reading has become virtually very, very less and very scant. And at the same time, the lack of reading habit is also putting our education into the backseat. They got lack of interest in education. फालतू की चीज़ों में ज़्यादा उनको शौक है. They have poor intellectual ability. Comprehension is low. Studying habits are also bad. They do not want to study the books. They do not want to study anything which is hard to understand, to comprehend. And the learning styles again need to be improved. And previously the parents took greater care. Today, model families and both of them working, both of the parents working. The students are probably they have lesser training at home. So we considered in our case, probable causes were lack of English, lack of knowledge, then poor studying habits, and lack of concentration and lack of attention to basic sciences. And we need to find avenues to overcome these deficiencies. For example, basic English, we think that they should undergo some prerequisites before the institute starts some learning classes for English language, so that they can improve their comprehension. They should listen to more of applications teaching English. They should they should exercise. They should be subjected to English conversation. We even held classes by outsourced people on English from IELTS and other things, other resources. And we have seen some videos also on English speaking from on WhatsApp also, where the energy was stupendous. Case from there, maybe somebody has seen it. So these kind of English speaking stimuli are absolutely needed in order to improve the basic comprehension of the students. Poor study habits, so we need to put students to study on their own motivation, and parents can be informed. Assignments in name of books can be given. Some books can be given to read, but the students need to be coaxed, need to be motivated, need to be challenged so as to improve their study habits. Then we need to improve the concentration to science. We do circulate them nice videos on WhatsApp, etc., where new innovations taking place, where some developments in science and kind of developments and how they're taking place. Keep on discussing things, and we give them a lot of awareness. Try to give a lot of awareness about new gadgets, new equipment, new phenomena. So these kind of facilities are there. Video applications are there. YouTube, a lot of YouTube movies are there on science and all. Yes, we do share with them, with the students, these kind of movies, so that it should give them some awareness, and talk about them in the class, so that come to know, they should also feel the necessity, whether if the teacher has circulated, they should be able to, they should have seen that the kind of concern they show for the teacher's contribution. During critical thinking, I considered the probable causes were again poor study habits, lack of knowledge on common science, lack of concentration, and especially lack of will to explore on their own. The students do not want to explore, they do not want to think out of the box. They do not tend to apply their mind. They are absolutely, they're not motivated, they're not eager, they're not trained, they're not prompted to go out of the box. And we need to do these kind of things, give them exercises, and also make them demonstrate and acknowledge their contribution, if any. So this is how we help these students come up with the newer ideas, and we even give them the kind of motivation, the kind of acknowledgement when they do so. So the students should be able to explore on their own, show out-of-box thinking, show innovation, because this is where the students will bring originality and bring quality, bring improvements into the various things. And so the student is made to act. and they're made to experience the kind of benefits of action and again improvement. The students should be able to identify the specific facts on materials and behavior, properties, and they do know the things, but they have difficulty in comprehending the basic concepts. And this is a world over phenomenon. This is globally seen among the students, and we need to, if we improve their reading habits, if we improve their awareness, if we make them think out of the box and be aware of the day-to-day developments, they would perform better. And in order to that, in the world, it is recommended that we need to improve our teaching strategy. We need to go into cooperative learning, discovery approach, and constructivism. We need to relate with real life examples, so that they are motivated, they learn, they can assimilate by correlation, and once they correlate, then their remembrance, their assimilation becomes better. In cooperative learning, we have we divide them into groups, and again, discovery approach, they need to correlate things coming from real life examples, and thus they discover the phenomena which could which help them understand things, and could again go into out of box and look at situations which are so far not explicitly evident. So they improve their understanding with respect to that. Independent learning and self-study techniques can help learning styles, help improve learning styles, and help improve the habit of learning. You can give them good books, recommend good books, recommend interesting books. Sometimes we have library periods also in schools and all. The students go to library, they are able to see pictures and again read something between the lines, and this helps them again to explore and have better awareness. And they can, by constructivism, by exploratory learning, they can integrate things and maybe come up with ideas which are better for their comprehension. And they should also be able to reflect upon their experiences, and so use the constructivism approach in order to improve their learning. And they should, again, we can go in for modular instructions, step by step, so that we can they can integrate their learning with respect to modular ones. So even in critical thinking, I used to approach, I used to teach on certain tools, certain aspects, and then deploy them into another learning of different subjects, either the same subject and different tools, and the vice versa. Same subjects and different tools, and different subjects and same tool. So with that, retrospectively working upon that, we could make them improve their comprehension, and thus they also tend to deploy learning which is by discovery. By improving mathematics, achievement through use of assignment sheets has been experimented. So assignment sheets were made, and it was thought that it would help, and it did help. And the third year students specifically of the lower section demonstrated the lowest achievement rate in mathematics during the third grading period as compared to results of the test during the first grading periods. This is the problem. So probably in the third grading, the assignment sheet had to be improved. Analysis of the problems would be irregular classes, lack of student interest, follow-up, lesson at home is neglected, and class interruption. And we need to, when we have irregular classes, we need to have lesser extramural and extracurricular activities. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. This is saying, but then we need to break upon this monotony. And if we have to re-begin, we have to connect with the previous lectures. And most of our teachers, we do not reflect upon our previous classes and we do not connect. And this is one problem. The student interest has to be built upon, and by right prompting, this can be affected. Again, follow-up at home again gets neglected. Class interruptions are there. And this is the institute problem. It is a management problem, class interruption. Private institutions, the academy is driven out from the class. Teacher पढ़ा रहा है उसको कहते हैं आ जाओ तू मेरे पास, class छोड़ दे. So this kind of interruptions, and the worst part of this is mobile. The students are using mobile, the teachers are using mobile in the class. Even I do use mobile. You can't stop it sometimes, but then again this interrupts the class. And I think one of the takeaway should be that the mobile should not be allowed even for the teacher. They should be kept outside. It should be completely silent zones. So the problems could be, statement of problem is what is the level of achievement with and without the use of assignment sheets. Certainly it can be researched upon. One can do all those kind of statistical analysis. Is there significant difference in the mathematics achievement in the third year student without the use of assignment sheet? There's a possibility, and this needs to be looked into. A t-test was performed here. Computed t value was 5.31, was higher than the critical value. Shows a significant difference between the performance of control group and experimental group. Thus, the use of assignment sheet is effective in teaching algorithms. So these kind of action research, developmental activities are taking place in the world, and we are far behind. We need to catch up, and especially for the teachers who are not doing research, who do not have the opportunity to do research, I think it is better that they can at least they indulge here and improve their teaching and become better teachers. And better teacher using research methodology in teaching would make them better researchers again when the time comes. And so we need to find out the focus areas. We need to be learning. That is what is happening in the world. We need to find out what makes the situation, do the causal analysis, find out the variables, stipulate the hypothesis, research questions. We need to describe the intervention, go in for data collection, data analysis, and action plans so that we can improve the class performance, and continue with action research. There's some guidelines for the teachers given by Fuller and Hargreaves. And locate, listen to, and articulate your inner voice. If you want to be a good teacher, nobody should be stopping us. You should be able to develop the kind of wherewithal to improve on and become better teachers. We need to reflect in action, on action and about action. That means I showed you the flow chart. Develop a risk-taking mentality, and we need to do the experiments in the class. Trust the processes as well as the people. Then appreciate the total person in working with others. Commit to working with colleagues. Redefine your role into extend beyond the classroom. Push and support principals and other administrators to develop interactive professionalism. Everybody should help each other, and should actually form a team at all hierarchical levels, so that the main objective is served, that is development of students. Commit to continuous improvement and perpetual learning. Perpetual learning, Sikhism is the paradigm which gave this phenomenon of perpetual learning. Sikhi means long-term continual learning, and this paradigm, which has been given by Guru Gobind Singh Ji, must be prevailed upon. Monitor and strengthen the connection between your development and the student's development. And the connection between, if the students are being developed, the students are definitely going to remember you. The students will acknowledge your competences, your contribution, and you will improve your competencies by and by. So this is what I have to say. Come on the conclusion part. The action research is vital for the academy because it gives you the opportunity to work together with the students and bring about their performance. And while bringing their performance up, you are going to improve your performance, your capabilities also. It does not exonerate or insulate an academy for due orientation to research. If you do not do research today, then we're going to be vanished. We will not have any paper publication. We'll not have any API scores and whatever. And so we are going to lag behind if we do not indulge into research. And it is very essential that we contribute our time to research. And if we are not researching, experimentally researching, or researching in fields closer to our research areas, then this is one area where we have absolutely no other choice. Action research allows the academy to improve the class and student performance. This is how we have seen. We can indulge into conceptually and statistically, and again by physical indulgence into improvement of the students, understanding their difficulties, knowing the impediments and how we can improve them, bring in constructivism, bring in the application of the various models in that, and use of innovative methods, and demonstrating them will go a long way in improving the brand of education institutions for the teacher. Today we have competition amongst institutions. We have less of students, more number of institutions, and certainly by using innovative methods and taking care of our students better, we will again have better say here in terms of the admissions. I've discussed some real life examples also, and thank you very much.